and today we're covering the Tokyo Game Show 2020 online version. That's right, like most events around the world, TGS did not have a physical convention this year, but instead opted for a 4-day live stream event where companies could broadcast the latest news for their video games from the safe and comfortable location of behind your computer screen. I did not watch the entire show, and this video will only cover things I personally found interesting. So without further ado, here are the TGS 2020 highlights. First, we have some gameplay footage from Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. While I'd much rather hear news about Breath of the Wild 2, this demo actually sparked a lot of interest for me, especially compared to the first game, because of its strong tie story-wise to Breath of the Wild, and that this game takes place during the wartime and Link's life before he somehow loses his memory and wakes up 100 years later in a futuristic cryostasis sleeping pod. Which all equates to a game where you get to play as the 4 badass champions from Breath of the Wild, and as revealed in this demo, you get to play as young Impa. Oh yeah, I was always a fan of Impa, not only in Breath of the Wild, but especially in Ocarina of Time. But yeah, the gameplay looks pretty badass. While definitely not a traditional Zelda game, the hack and slash Dynasty Warriors style does look fun, so if the story's any good, I might be picking this up. And look at the baby guardian! Aww. Next, we have the Nier TGS Special, where they showed off a great-looking Nier replicant, version 1.22474487139, as well as the upcoming mobile Nier Reincarnation, 2 very Evangelion Kingdom Hearts-ish titles there. Replicant seems like a remaster of the first game, but Yoko Taro, who showed up in his ever-present Emil head, insists that we should forget about the previous installments and think of this as its own new game. Still, the only thing that turned me off with the original game was the gameplay, and this new automata fast-paced action definitely confirms my excitement to play this one. Capcom had a bit of new info for Resident Evil 8 Village, a direct sequel to Resident Evil 7. They showed some Burton-esque storybook sequences, as well as that creepy old lady. Other than that, there wasn't too much new info. The developers just kind of talked about how beautiful yet terrifying the game is.
Both beautiful, yet terrifying.
And how every little detail in the game will come together in the end.
All the little touches and ideas that the designers add are fully realized and come together once you make it through the entire game.
How reassuring. They also showed Monster Hunter Grapple Hook Edition for Nintendo Switch, where you can fight monsters above as the Dark Knight Rising. Cyberpunk 2077, my most anticipated game, also had a good presentation. While mostly using footage we have already seen, they got to show off their Japanese localization, with some surprisingly spot-on Japanese voice acting. They talked about how they worked on bringing the world to life, and how they hope to continue improving the diverging storylines as seen in the Witcher series. It was also funny to hear the Japanese developers commenting on what a nice guy Keanu Reeves was when they met him in Tokyo. Traditionally, the Tokyo Game Show also has a presentation called Sense of Wonder Night, where indie developers show off games with unique concepts, from games which try to push the boundaries of video game storytelling, to ones with new ways of playing games, like Fight Crab! Oh yeah, from the makers of Ace of Seafood and Neo Aquarium comes a new fighter! Look at this badass in his fishing hat as he explains how when you hold the Nintendo Switch controllers, it looks just like crab claws. Become a crab and swing your claws to victory. Best game of TGS. Speaking of best games, they also had an award show, and one particular game which won Best Game Design looked quite interesting. It's called Baba Is You. It's a puzzle game where you need to rearrange words to alter the rules of the game world and progress. I'd never heard of it before, but it looked pretty interesting when they went through the gameplay demo, so I might have to check that out. And that's it from TGS 2020 Online. Because I live in Tokyo, it's a bit unfortunate to not have a physical event this year, but actually the online version was pretty convenient. No waiting in line for hours to check out a game. All the presentations are laid out for you, and you can pick and choose to watch whichever you want. You also get to have lots of international guest speakers, and you can watch developers talk in front of sweet virtual backgrounds.